here it is, round 2 of the YouTuber Karting Championship. This time we are at Buckmore Park in Kent, driving the Sodi karts for an hour-long race. Aldas versus myself once again. Last time out in Brighton, Aldas took the dub, came in first, I came in second. He got the fastest lap, meaning that he comes home with 11 points and I am on 9 heading into this round. A reminder of the point structure, it is 10 to 1 points for first to 10th and an additional point for fastest lap. And a quick reminder to do 3 things before we get into this video. Thing 1 is to queue up Aldas's video, because this video is going to be mostly my perspective of this race. Thing 2 is to hit the like button if you like this kind of content. I would really appreciate it, and subscribe as well if you're new here.
How's it going, people? Welcome back to the channel and welcome to another video. Welcome back to the YouTuber Karting Championship here with Aldas. We are at Buckmore Park this evening, the complete opposite of the last race. Instead of being in a nice and brisk morning, it is an even brisker evening, wheeling in
It's freezing!
Bro, it's a joke, isn't it?
God.
It's like Storm Eunice is still going on, as you can see. It's been nice and rainy. The track is looking damp, I would call that.
I think that's a swimming pool, man. That's not a track.
That's it, that's a struggle. So yeah, no idea who's going to win this one. It could be anyone's race in this kind of weather, so stay tuned and let's find out who wins. But as always, without further ado, let's go karting.
So let's jump straight into it then. Here you can see Aldas and I in our human or full body condoms to keep ourselves nice and dry. Although you can see there that the hands and feet are still out, which is definitely not fun in this kind of weather, as you can see. And I very quickly found out just how not fun it was. Trying to brake, not hit the number 6 car, and I went straight around on lap 2 of qualifying. Not great at all. And here you can see Aldas and a couple other guys coming past. I actually ended up catching and passing Aldas in quali though, which is pretty good, which is why I ended up qualifying in P4, just 6/10 off the fastest lap, and Aldas qualified in P6, so 2 positions behind me and directly behind me on the grid. So can I carry this momentum into the race? Let's find out and jump straight into it. The lights go green and we're away. I haven't quite got the hang of that yet, as I'm not quite on Martin Brundle or Crofty levels, but here we go, on to lap 1 then straight away. And it's absolute pandemonium. Apologies for the water on the screen and stuff. It's very hard to show everything, but here we're going to jump to my back-facing camera because Aldas off the start got a bit overexcited and span around straight away, which is very helpful for my championship and race opportunity. But as we go on to lap 1, here you can see I was trying to get around the outside of David there in the number 2 car. Didn't quite make it happen, but I had to push on anyway and try and get back past him. The thing about driving in the wet is you got to go for those off lines. You can't stay on line because there's so much rubber already down on the main line, which is just so slippy in conditions like this. But to be perfectly honest, in this kind of condition, as a relative newbie to this kind of karting in the wet, these kinds of conditions, it's just take wherever you can and find traction wherever you can. So that was my mindset. But here we are coming into this corner then. I've held on to P4, pretty good first lap for me. I obviously actually didn't know at this point that Aldas had gone around, so I'm just going to keep pushing on. I knew he was going to be close up behind me. In my head, he was going to be chasing me down, so I needed to keep pushing and make sure that I maximise my opportunity. If I am actually faster than him here at Buckmore Park, I need to maximize the opportunity. But look at how mental this weather is as we come on to lap 2. What a joke. Honestly, this was Storm Eunice earlier in the year, which if you are in the UK you'll be aware was very, very sketchy. Lots of damage done to trees, to telephone poles, all that kind of stuff, and damage done to Aldas's race obviously on the first lap there, so not ideal for him, but pretty good for me. This is one of those situations where being 30 kilograms heavier than Aldas is actually a bit of a positive, because I'm a little bit more squatted to the road. I'm less worried about the cart sliding. If it does slide, there's more weight for me to kind of keep the cart pushed down onto the track. And here you can see going very wide out of that corner as we come down the hill here. I love this section. In the dry and in the wet it's even more difficult, and it's just so good, taking very sketchy lines to get through there. But this top 4 hasn't really managed to break apart. We were very close in qualifying. This, I mean, 6/10 is quite a big gap, I suppose, in karting, but because we were able to follow each other, we were able to just see each other's lines and put a bit of pressure on each other. So coming back onto this back straight, or coming back towards the finish line to start lap 3, coming up the hill here, you're trying to stay as wide as possible. Normally you'd be super inside there trying to aim for the apex, but in this condition it was horrendous. Lots of people found themselves in the barrier coming through that corner. Yellow flag as someone else has found themselves in the barrier, trying to slow it down whilst obviously not losing out any time to the guys in front of me. Still the yellow flag. I think someone who actually crashed crashed in this corner, which was actually my Achilles heel. There you can see them on the outside. This corner was definitely my Achilles heel on the day. I couldn't get around that one at all quickly, and it was the one that I span on, obviously in qualifying as well. So whatever, all good. Coming back out then, pushing on to try and catch up to David in the number 2 car. Really got to chase him as hard as I can, because I didn't feel like I was as comfortable in the car as I like to be. Normally I'm quite happy driving in wet conditions just because I feel quite confident. I don't feel like I'm going to spin too much, but at the time I was like, if I'm going to beat Aldas, I need to push on. I need to get some distance between me and him. And I had no idea where he was on track at this point in time as well. Here you can see though a back marker gets in the way, the number 11 car, which is fine. He's just doing his thing, driving along, probably had a couple of spins or whatever. I try and go up the inside, but obviously no traction on the inside, and then he slices back across there, which was a bit sketchy, and I think he actually almost went off the track in the background. But that gave a little bit of a gap to David, and that wasn't ideal for me. But jumping ahead onto lap 14, then they've actually managed to gap me by a few seconds at this point, which is not ideal for me. But on the right hand side there, Aldas spinning backwards into the barrier. Let's watch it again in slow motion because it's quite hard to see, but as we come through here, Aldas out there on the outside just gone backwards through that section, and he is clattered into the barrier, and I did notice that whilst I was driving. So yeah, pretty mental. I wanted to show you this though. Jumping onto lap 21, it was absolutely belting it down. You may have noticed at the start of the race it wasn't actually raining, but at this point it is absolutely chucking it down. I'll increase the sound of the audio here because you can hear that it sounds like I'm underwater. Literally, it was properly going for it. There was lightning, there was thunder. It was absolutely mental. Pretty miserable for anyone who wasn't in a full body condom, I would assume. My feet and my hands were so wet, and I forgot to bring a spare pair of shoes for this race, so that was a bit of a struggle. But I just really wanted to show you how mental the conditions were. Coming down this hill, it was like a river was coming down this hill. It was ridiculous. Coming into this corner here, and still that was a massive puddle there, just all one big river for you to drive through. And this isn't even as bad as it got, so stay tuned because later in this race it gets even worse. It's so mental. Every so often in the you might be able to hear me just talking and being like, wow, this is ridiculous. I honestly thought they were going to cancel the race, and the organizer of the event actually said, yeah, this was very close to getting cancelled. Here you can see on lap 23 I'm behind the 16 car, just coming to lap him, and as we come through this bottom section of the track coming into this corner, he goes very wide, which is a good line for him, gets him some good thing. You might have even seen some lightning there, pretty mental. As you come through here, look at the spray on the right hand side there. So much spray off the back because there's a hill there and all the water's just coming down towards you. It was mental, absolutely mental. But here we go onto lap 25, and I was feeling confident, as I said in the car. Everything was going reasonably well, swimmingly is probably the best way to put it in this kind of weather. Everything's going very swimmingly, and as we turn left to come down here, lost a little bit of traction on the rear, and around we go. So very sketchy, but I managed to turn the cart backwards, bounce off the wall and head back forwards again. That could have been a lot worse than it actually ended up being. I lost about 4 or 5 seconds in that incident, so not the absolute end of the world, but in my head at this point I'm just thinking I need to go. What I didn't know was that Aldas had actually had a few more spins than me and was a little bit further behind, so I didn't have to worry too much. But yeah, here we go onto lap 27, and it is absolutely belting it down again. It was kind of like it rained really hard in the early parts of the race, then it stopped raining for a bit, then the rain came back with an absolute vengeance. You can see the rain on the lens and on the floor. Yeah, this was insane. And yeah, I'm getting a lot of drift, sliding the car a bit much, which is not good in terms of speed. I probably should have been a bit more on the outside. Look at that on the inside, just all of the spray coming up and bouncing into my face. Ridiculous. By the way, the camera here is mounted on the shoulder because at Buckmore you're not allowed to mount on the helmet, which is why you're not maybe seeing as high a view as normal. But as you go on this hill, look at this corner. You can see the water getting pushed from the side of the car. It was ridiculous. Yeah, racing in a thunderstorm, this is one of the coolest experiences of karting and racing in my life so far. I've had a few mental motocross and go-karting experiences in my lifetime, but yeah, this was pretty nuts. Coming up the hill, you can see the spray coming off the cart there, mate. The rain was unbelievable. This has been F1. There would have been, yeah, it'd have been like Spa 2021, and here I am. Yeah, I'm actually shouting but in my helmet, but yeah, mental. So on lap 33 then, the rain had actually subsided a little bit, which is nice, a little bit less miserable in the helmet, and this guy just spins around and yeah, nearly took me out there. So fortunately managed to carry on. I have no idea where people in front of me or behind me are at this point. So I'm just going to keep carrying on lap 35, just 2 laps after that incident. I come into this corner, as I said, difficult corner for me. And again, I go around, a little half spin there. I managed to get the kart stopped in time and turn it back around, but that could have been very sketchy for me as well. All these mistakes could just let Aldous back into this race, even though I've got a little bit of time ahead of him. But this was my fastest lap of the evening. So as we jump onto this lap then, lap 40, coming into the first corner here, staying as wide as possible, trying not to drift too much, a little bit of drift on exit, but mostly just trying to find where the traction is. Coming into T3, I think they call this one, coming through T3 here, you stay wide again, make sure you pick up as much traction as possible. Again, coming into T4, this hairpin, you're just looking for the grip. Again, not sliding, no drifting, just trying to keep the kart going as fast as possible through there. Stay wide through here too to get the traction, and then similarly I go really tight there because there's not really an opportunity to go anywhere. There's actually yellow flags here, and somehow still it ended up being my fastest lap of the session, so apologies to Buckmore for that. They'd gone green down below, so I did spot that. Coming down this part of the hill, getting a little bit too much slide there. Could have been a bit better if I'd stayed a bit wider and whatever, but that was actually okay. Coming into this corner here, again staying wide, trying to just stay as wide as possible, cut across where the rubber is, and then stay wide again through here so I don't end up going super wide on exit. On this corner coming up the hill, you stay wide as I discussed earlier on in the race, and then back through here. I sound like George Russell on that Spa lap where he's like flat through there, flat through there, flat through here, but yeah, whatever. On to lap 42 then, a little bit later on in the race. It's not raining so much at this point, but it is still blustery. There is still lightning, there is still thunder, and it's just miserable. I mean, I'm only 3 laps from the end here, and it's just properly miserable. And luckily, I love this kind of stuff. I love this kind of situation. But some people were probably complaining after the race. But one thing that I had to complain about was the fact that because it was such a long event, I think it was about an hour and 15 minutes in total, including the qualifying. My GoPro decided to run out of battery, which was not ideal. So if we jump onto my back-facing camera here on lap 46, the lights went out. The lightning and the thunder and the wind was so bad that the lights actually went off on track, and that was the end of the race. We did actually restart for an extra lap, but they decided in the end to finish the race on lap 45. On lap 46 was when the lights went out. They finished the race with the results from lap 45, which is very helpful to me in the end because I think Aldous actually gained a spot after that and it didn't count towards the race result. So here it is then, confirmation of the results. That was Sam in P1 with a 109.5 as his fastest lap, David in P2 5 seconds back, Aaron in P3, followed by me in P4, and then John and Aldous coming in P6. So I think actually Aldous passed John later on in the race, but obviously they actually finished it off on lap 45 rather than giving us the extra laps after the blackout moment. So yeah, that was pretty insane. And if we see what that looks like in the championship standings, you can see that Aldous has 16 points, and because of finishing 2 points ahead of him, I am now equal on points with him. It is 16 apiece going into round 3. How is this going to play out? Stick around, and Tuesday next week you will get round 3, and make sure you also go and watch Aldous' race as I mentioned.
So honestly, that was ridiculous. Really something nuts. Like you'll have seen in the footage, if it actually recorded, otherwise you might not be seeing this, that yeah, we just basically karted in a storm and the lights went out, and yeah, I think
it was more sailing, to be honest.
It really was.
Legit, there was lakes everywhere. Midway through, it just started chucking it down, and it was absolutely crazy. But
I can't tell you how nuts that was. So yeah,
and the power cut out. What was that?
Honestly, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you want to see more of it, smash that like button. You know how it works. Subscribe as well if you're new. Message to the patrons always for their support, and to you guys as well for watching. We'll see you in the next one
for round 3. We'll see you there.